Salt water destroys wood faster than almost anything on Earth. Medieval navies knew this well. They lost ships to rot as often as to storms or battle, yet some fleets endured for decades with remarkably low attrition. The reason was not thicker planking or stronger timber alone. It was a moisture barrier system so effective that it allowed wood to live in a permanently wet environment without collapsing. This barrier was not a single coating, but a layered method that controlled how water entered, moved through, and left the hull. Understanding it changes how we think about medieval technology and material intelligence. Medieval shipbuilders focused on controlling water movement rather than excluding it completely. Modern builders often assume the goal is to keep water out at all costs. Medieval shipwrights learned early that this goal was impossible at sea. Instead, they asked a different question. How can water be slowed, redirected, and rendered harmless once it touches wood? Their answer was a permeable barrier that absorbed initial moisture while preventing deep saturation. This approach reduced internal swelling, limited oxygen availability to rot organisms, and allowed controlled drying between voyages. The moisture barrier began inside the wood, not on its surface. Before any external treatment, timbers were seasoned slowly to remove free water while preserving internal flexibility. Wood cut in winter was preferred, as lower sap content meant fewer nutrients for fungi. Seasoning yards kept logs shaded and ventilated, sometimes partially buried to prevent rapid drying. This stage mattered because wood that dries unevenly develops microfractures. Those fractures become pathways for moisture. Medieval builders avoided them through patience rather than speed. Pine tar, oils and fats formed the heart of the medieval barrier system. Once seasoned, planks were warmed and treated with pine tar blended with oils or animal fats. The mixture was heated to improve penetration and brushed or rubbed into the wood repeatedly. This was not cosmetic. The goal was saturation. Tar and oils replaced water within the cell structure of the wood. This created a hydrophobic interior that resisted further water uptake while remaining flexible. The barrier lived inside the timber rather than sitting on top of it. Caulking completed the barrier by sealing movement points without rigidity. Seams between planks were packed with fibrous materials such as hemp, flax or moss. These fibres were soaked in tar before installation. When the hull entered water, the fibres swelled, tightening joints and blocking flow. This method turned the hull into a self-sealing structure. The more water pressure it experienced, the more effective the barrier became. Modern rigid sealants cannot replicate this behaviour and often fail under flex. Layering extended protection beyond the hull's surface. Some medieval fleets added sacrificial layers, including thin planking or protective coatings that took the brunt of abrasion and marine growth. These layers could be replaced during maintenance without compromising the core structure. This concept of planned degradation protected the main hull and extended service life dramatically. It was a moisture barrier strategy that assumed wear rather than denying it. The medieval moisture barrier was not permanent. Ships were hauled out regularly, dried, inspected, and retreated. Tar was reapplied where wear exposed raw wood. Caulking was refreshed. Smoke and heat were sometimes used again to drive treatments deeper. This cycle prevented small moisture intrusions from becoming structural failures. Fleets that followed this protocol consistently outlasted those that cut corners. Archaeological evidence confirms the system's effectiveness. Shipwrecks recovered from harbours and seabeds often show intact internal timbers even when outer surfaces are eroded. Chemical analysis reveals tar and oil residues deep within the grain. These residues are not accidental. They are the fingerprint of a deliberate moisture barrier strategy. Ships lacking this treatment rarely survive long enough to leave such evidence. Their wood collapses into soft, unrecognizable debris. These principles remain useful for anyone working with wood in wet environments. Select untreated lumber and season it slowly. Avoid fast-drying methods that cause cracking. Warm wood before applying penetrating oils or tar-based treatments. Focus on saturation, especially at joints and end grain. Use flexible joint fillers rather than rigid sealants. Accept maintenance as part of durability. Structures exposed to rain, humidity or ground contact benefit greatly from this approach, whether they're boats, bridges or outdoor buildings. The medieval moisture barrier was not primitive. It was adaptive, resilient and grounded in observation. Shipbuilders learned that durability comes from cooperation with materials, not domination over them. Entire fleets survived because their builders understood water, wood and time as partners in a system rather than enemies to be defeated. If this exploration of historical engineering deepens your understanding of the past and its relevance today, subscribe to In the Beginning and share this guide with others who value knowledge proven by centuries of real-world use.